So I've kept up the double angle formulas, including all three versions of the cosine ones here, and I've got a problem for us to try. So I wanted to find sine x if we know that cosine x is negative 2/3 and x is in quadrant 3. So I'm using the double angle formula for sine, so I know that sine of 2x is just 2 copies of sine x times cosine x. So that's going to be 2 copies of sine x, which I'm going to have to find, times cosine x, which is negative 2/3. That was given to me. So I just have to figure out what sine of x is. So I'm told that we're in quadrant 3. I'm going to just draw, that's the simplest way to get to quadrant 3. And that would give me a reference angle that I like to call alpha. Drop my perpendicular up to that x-axis. So I know that cosine of alpha is the absolute value of negative 2/3. So that's just 2/3. So I can label the adjacent side 2 and the hypotenuse 3. I'm labeling the actual side lengths because I'm going to deal with the sine as a separate issue. Okay. So then I need to know what the opposite side is, and that's just a question of Pythagoras. So I know that 2 squared plus p squared equals 3 squared. 4 plus p squared equals 9. P squared is 5. P would be the square root of 5. And I'm taking the positive root because I'm solving for the side length. Okay. Again, if you prefer to do sine sides, you could. Then you'd label this as a negative 2 and this as a negative root 5. I'm, though, just going to say sine of x is my usual 2-step process. I'm in quadrant 3, so I know it's negative. And then I just attach the sine of the reference angle, which would be root 5 over 3. Excellent. That's what goes in that spot right there. So negative root 5 over 3. And so then I just multiply this out. Looks like I've got 2 negatives that are going to cancel. Okay. This 2 I might write as 2 over 1. So I have 2 times 2 times root 5 is 4 root 5 on top, over 3 times 3 is 9 on bottom. The root doesn't simplify. The fraction doesn't reduce. That's my answer. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's do one with cosine. Let's find cosine of 2x if sine of x is negative 1/4. Now, notice I didn't tell you what quadrant we're in. So that's not enough information for me to be able to figure out what cosine of x is. So I can't use this version of the formula, because for this version, in order to calculate cosine of twice an angle, I need to know both sine and cosine of that angle, and I only know sine. But this version should work. So I can say cosine of 2x is 1 minus 2 sine squared x, just using x as my angle instead of theta. And now that's just going to be 1 minus 2 copies of negative 1/4 squared. Don't forget order of operations. We're going to do the squaring first, then we'll multiply by the 2, and then we'll subtract. So that's going to be 1 minus 2, which I'll write as 2 over 1, times 1/16. When I square it, it becomes positive. Then I can cancel. 2 goes into 16 8 times. So that's 1 minus 1/8. I'll write that 1 as 8/8 minus 1/8. And that's going to be 7/8. So that was kind of nice. I didn't have to actually draw a picture to figure out what cosine of x was. I was able to use this version of the formula and just solve for cosine of 2x directly.